What's up, everybody? FooserX here again. Today's topic is how to get our three-row better. One of our YouTube commenters, this actually came from him. Like, hey, I'm playing a lot. I'm not a new player, but my three-row, it feels really good, yet sometimes I still walk away from the table, with a loss, even though I feel like I'm better than that other team. And we've all been there before. And there's absolutely things that you can do on your three-row to make it better, to take it to the next level, and that's what we need. So let's get it on. 16 reasons why you are not scoring enough. Number one, your execution just isn't there. You set it up for a pull, you're cutting back, you're hitting it in the wall, you're spraying, you're just that, all those missed executions add up. We're talking about 3, 4, maybe 8 possessions a match that aren't even going on goal. So how do we fix that? Well, you just got to go back home, put in massive reps, more table time, more muscle memory. Number two, your lateral speed isn't fast enough. You can have a good shot mechanically, you see the holes well, everything's good, you're not misexecuting, but when you go, by the time the ball gets, over here, it's getting blocked. So how do we fix that? It's easy to say, we'll just go make it faster. Well, how do we make it faster? Let's take the rollover, for example. I'm going to set this up. Try one more. All right, that's still pretty fast. Is that raceable? Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's smooth. It's not going very far. Unless people are camped out there, it might go around there. But it's still, it's not fast. How do we make it fast? Well, it comes from this conscious effort of going back to your table and just saying, you know what? I'm going to do the same motion, but faster. I know it sounds like just common sense, but it's not. Most people just get in a rut. In life, in general, again, foosball is a metaphor for life. They have a job and they just go to it every day, and they just become complacent. You're in a relationship, you become complacent. You start getting out of shape because you're like, I'm happy here. Got a good woman, good life, everything's nice. And next thing you know, you start getting fat. You can't not be complacent. You can't be complacent in foosball. So when you go home, we're not going to be complacent with an average speed shot. Let's put a little mustard on this. Nobody's racing that. And once you take your shot to the next level, once you put that extra power into your shot, you're going to see the three-row in a whole new way, and you're not going to go backwards. All right. Number 3, your nerves are getting to you. You're really good in pickup games. You shoot really well. People are asking you, hey man, let's play the BYP together. Let's play some events together. You got a really good three-row. And then you get into these events and maybe you're good for a round or two, but when the pressure starts getting on, the pressure starts getting turned on, you start choking a little bit. And this will absolutely be a whole video in itself, but for the most part, you beat nerves by being more familiar with that situation. You got to put in more table time. Not just by yourself, but in pickup games, because the more you do that, the more meat nut situations you're going to be in. So you just got to play more, get so used to the table, put in so many reps with your three-row that once you get it, you're so comfortable. There will be no nerves because you're like, whew, this is home right now, and I'm going to bury this shot. All right, number 4, you're not studying the game. You're not asking people for tips after you play them. Win or lose, you should always be talking to people and getting more information out of them. Let's just say you get blocked and you just chalk it up to an off night. No, man, you're sucking. You need to find out why you were sucking. Even if it's just a match or two, you should always be talking to people. What was I doing? Why did you start blocking me in that last game? Were you picking up on something? Or giving something away? And they're going to tell you. And this is how we learn. Think about it. Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady, do you think they just take the court or the field every week without studying or putting in time in the film room? Absolutely not. No, man. They are the greatest because they treat this game with the respect it deserves. They're humble enough to know that they need to keep improving every single week. And so do you guys. So until you're Tony Spreeman or Ryan Moore, you got work to do. Number 5, you're not practicing enough or smart enough. And when I say that, I mean you're not practicing enough against live defenses. You're not getting enough experience reading defenses. You might have a blazing shot by itself, but if you don't have the experience to read different defenses by playing just a crap ton, you're going to struggle. And that's why if you go back to my video on how to be great, you have to pick one shot and you have to shoot it every single time. That's going to get the experience you need in deciphering, different stuff that's getting thrown at you. Number 6, you're predictable. And I know a lot of Foosers, I'm sure you guys know a lot too, that they're rookies or amateurs even, and these guys have amazing 3-row shots. They're explosive, they're unraceable, but they're not smart with them, In fact, they're very predictable. Like, they always go into the same timing. They always hit the same hole when they do go. And smart players, smart goalies, they're going to pick up on this. They're actually going to show the goalie, like, hey, like, your favorite hole is open right, at the time you like to shoot that. And then when they go, they're going to block that. It is very much like taking candy from a baby, but only easier, because at least babies at some point are going to learn. Some people, some Foosers out there, they will never learn. And this just goes back to not studying the game enough, not talking to the goalie, not understanding what your own weaknesses are. And I've actually got an interesting story on that. Like, my 3-row, it's decent. It used to be really good back in the day. Now it's like, average expert. Sometimes they'll get to high pro. Sometimes they'll just be an abortion for the whole night. Like, you never know. But it's pretty good for the most part. And a while ago, I was getting blocked by a lot of people. So much so that it was starting to get annoying, because these weren't just the good players that were blocking me. It was just like everybody was. It's like they just knew how to block me. And I would even see people kind of whisper before the match to each other, and then the match I would get bricked. And finally I went up to somebody, I can't remember who it was. I think it was maybe Dana or Big City, and they said, like, hey, your best side is your push side, but when you set the ball up, for those first 5 or 6 seconds, you're looking at pull side. And that's all you're looking at. And then later in the clock, once you don't see this hole, you start forcing the push side. And so they would give me defense to account for that. They would show me the pull sides and then take it away. And then later on, they would show me the push sides and make sure I didn't get that later in the clock. And I was like, are you effing kidding me? Like, what the heck? And then so I started paying more attention to what I was doing. And absolutely, that's what I was doing. Somewhere, somehow, I had unconsciously picked up this bad habit somewhere of shooting in this weird timing situation, and people picked up on that, and next thing you know, it just like spread like a virus. Like, this is how you block sky, this is what you need to do. So this is why it's so critical that you talk to everybody all the time, just constantly. What am I doing? What could I be doing better? Number 7, you have a tell. Rollover shooters, they have a tendency to have a really big tell in their rollover shot, because they like to think that they're sitting on front of the ball, on top of the ball even, and they can go to any side without giving it away. But it turns out, like, most people start to come over here to get that extra motion to go push side, or maybe they start to rock it over here when they see the pull side open. This is the stuff that, if you're not careful, goalies and other people will see, and they're gonna get that tell on you. It's going to go into their Rolodex. They're going to know how to block you. Maybe you grip the rod differently on long versus short. Maybe your body posture is different. You lean a little bit more in. Maybe you dip your shoulder before you go long. Like, these are really minuscule things that you might not pick up on, because your body makes these little tiny adjustments, just like ever so slightly. Like, every ball, by the end of the night, your body's made a tiny adjustment to be a little bit faster, a little bit more efficient, make it easier. And you have to catch yourself. You have to make sure you go back to the drawing board and maybe put a mirror in front of the table. You check out yourself, maybe even videotape yourself to make sure you are not giving anything away. Number 8, you're a quick shooter. You're not allowing time for the defense to tire out or get into repeat mode. You're not able to pick up on the patterns because you're not even giving the goalie a chance to let their patterns develop. Number 9, you switch shots too much. And I can't stress this one enough. If you cycle through different shots, you're never going to be the master of one. And that's what we want. We want to have a master 3-row. So, like I said, pick one shot and stick with it. Number 10, you have not pre-programmed your brain. And we're going to get into this in another video. But when I say the term and the word pre-program, it kind of sounds like a computer. But that's exactly what I mean. We need to be computers. We are Terminators coming up to the table with a mission to destroy our other opponent. So you should be practicing enough that when you see certain formations, you know what shots are there automatically. So as a rollover shooter, when I set this rod up, the second I see this outer man come across the inner crescent here, I know that this thing is huge. I know I've practiced my push side so many times that when I see this guy just hovering inside this, this white crescent here, I'm going to go, and it's going to be an automatic point. I don't even have to read the defense. All I know is the second I see it, I have been pre-programmed to go for that shot. Another one is, hey, when I see somebody give me this shuffle defense, I don't even read the defense. I just hit a corner because I know, just look at this. You're not on the corners for very long. The chances are it's going to be open when you go if your shot's unraceable. Same thing, if you shoot a pull shot and you see the reverse and you see somebody giving you this dead row D, but they're not stuck on dead row, they're just bouncing around out here, you just go. You don't read the D, you don't even think about it. You just like go through your little Terminator program, reverse D, boom, and it's gone. So you need to practice on enough defenses, you need to see them enough that you know automatically, depending on the formation, this is going to be there. Number 11, your reactions are not fast enough. Like, you see the hole, you're able to see the pattern, but you're just not fast enough at reacting. So by the time you shoot, the hole's already closed. And this goes back to practicing smart. I'm actually going to make another video that requires 2 people to practice working on reaction times. Number 12, you can't hit all the holes. Like, if your shot is limited, you can bet people will not be blocking the holes that you have trouble hitting. For example, like if your pull shot sprays, people don't need to block the very long because they just like kind of fork that guy out, and because you're not squaring this shot, you're kind of spraying it, it's going to hit that guy and come off. Likewise with the short, they don't have to worry about blocking the short because you don't have that. Your shot is limited. So be aware of it. Make sure you can hit every shot. Number 13, you're overthinking. You're able to shoot all the holes and you're trying to work the entire goalie, you're mixing everything up. And yeah, that's a great strategy sometimes, but smart goalies, they might pick up on that. They might say to themselves like, hey, this guy really mixes things up. He just went long, so I know he's probably not going to go long next time. So I'm going to show him that I'm not going to give him that long because I know he doesn't want to go there because he's busy trying to be too smart over here. And then when that person goes, then I'll abandon this shot because you just get a feel for people who are working the entire hole. Number 14, you're not taking a timeout. A lot of matches, again, come down to 1 or 2 possessions, and if you don't take the time to call timeout, to collect yourself and focus on what you're about to do, you're going to miss. And of course, foosball, Murphy's Law of foosball is if you miss on meat nut or a critical point, the other team is absolutely going to score the next point, probably on the next possession. You have to take a timeout to make adjustments. Talk to your goalie. The goalies are playing behind you. They're watching what's happening here. They're not as involved as you are, so they're going to be able to give you some good advice. Like, listen to them. At least talk it out. Number 15, you're giving the goalie too much credit. And this happens all the time. Maybe you set up for a rollover and you score 2 or 3 pull sides in a row because that's what the pattern is showing you, and you're hitting that. And then you're just, next possession you go push side and you get blocked. You're like, what the fuck? Like, why are you blocking push side after I just got through blasting 2 or 3 pull sides over here? Like, that's not smart foosball. But again, not everybody's a smart player. So make sure you adjust your shooting level to the goalie on the other side of the table. Don't always just give them too much credit. All right, the last one, and this is probably the biggest one. You are reading the defense and you're timing the holes, and that's why your 3 rows not good. I know this is crazy. I know what you're thinking. You're like, FooserX, like, isn't that how we're supposed to shoot? We're supposed to read the defense and we're supposed to time holes? Yes, it is sometimes, but you have to be aware. You have to be able to check yourself, and you have to understand that there's other shooting strategies out there, because eventually you're going to run into people who have better defense. They are sucking you in. It's something you've never seen before. For whatever reason, they're getting in your head, and you're not going to be able to pick out patterns because they're just smarter than you. I'm not saying in general, but that day, that match, they know what you're looking at. And I've got a really good story on this one. It haunts me to this day, but it was a good learning lesson. So a couple of years ago at Colorado State, me and an expert doubles partner, it was Rick Reese. We were like 3 or 4 up in expert doubles, and I was playing really good. Like, I felt really good. I wasn't jittery. My shot felt good. My pass felt good. I was owning people on the 5. And we had to play Tommy Yor Midori. and we were playing them, and I fucking dominated that entire match. Like the whole table, I was passing, I was getting a lot of possessions, I was blocking his 5-row, Rick was blocking his 3-row, like I was living with the ball, and I shit you not, like I had 20 shots to win, to shoot like two games, and I scored 0. I'm like, I'm not even talking about a misexecution, I didn't get lucky, it's just at a sheer probability you thought one would go in. 0 of my shots went in, and this is what was after owning the whole table and just living with the ball. And so after that match, I mean, she just got in my head. She has a really great defense. I hadn't seen her before, and she wasn't even racing me. My shot wasn't off. I wasn't giving anything away. I was just getting sucked into her defense. And so I lost, and I had to come away from there and think about, what did I do wrong? Like, what did I need to do? And I was talking to Ditto, and he's an extremely cerebral player. He helped me kind of figure out what I should have been doing. And I knew this strategy from a long time ago. And what I should have been doing is completely switch strategies. Instead of trying to outsmart her, I should have just maybe like picked one hole, like maybe my best side. Like I'll just go pull side. And that way, when she's giving me her defense and she's moving around, I'm not even reading the defense. I'm just reading this long hole, and I'm going to bully her into forcing her to stay on that hole. I might even waste a couple possessions just forcing her to say like, hey, you know what? This person is going to keep shooting on this hole. Even if you're showing this other big hole over here, he's gonna make sure you stay on that hole. And finally, once somebody stays on that hole, now you're dictating things. Now you have forced that goalie to abandon their game plan, and now they're bending to your will. Now that they're forcing their self to stay here, and next thing you know, other holes are going to be huge. So that's what you need to do sometimes. You have to have other shooting strategies. And another example, another shooting strategy is aim at their guys. Like if you think you see the patterns, but every time you go to shoot, you're getting blocked. There's somewhere in there your timing is off. So aim at their guys. I've done that a few times, and it feels weird. It absolutely feels foreign. But next thing you know, it's just going in and in, and you're like, what is happening here? I'm just aiming at their guys. It's maybe because they're racing a little too early. I don't know. Like another strategy would be quick shooting. If you're not having success reading these patterns that the defense is throwing at you, set the ball up and just go. And maybe eventually you start working them, because they're not going to be able to be smart and give you smart defense, because honestly they don't know where you're going to shoot. So that's a huge one, guys. When something's not working, change. And again, that goes for life too. Whatever you're doing in life is not working for you, and you're not happy, you're not getting the results you want, like just step back for a second and just change it. Work at that, and have strategies to come up to the table again to say like, okay, like this strategy wasn't working, but you know what? I've got 4 or 5 other strategies in my back pocket. Literally, you might need a little cheat sheet in your back pocket when you aren't scoring the way you're used to scoring. You call a timeout, you run down your list and say, oh, you know what? This girl is bricking the shit out of me. I'm gonna start bullying her with one shot, force her to change the way she's doing it to the way I want to do it. All right, guys, there you go. 16 different ways to improve your 3-row. I hope that helps.